Hey friends, welcome to this concept stamping tutorial. I've got my big Dilutions journal here. Dilutions journal here. I'm going to work in something big today because I'm going to use this stamp, which is the face and body, and I'm going to put this down here and then draw beyond it to draw the mermaid tail. So you're going to kind of need something a bit bigger unless you stamp this out and maybe shrink it in a photocopy size or something. But for the most part, I think if you have a bigger piece of paper, a bigger journal, this might be fun to work in a bit of a large scale. I've been working in A5 for a lot lately, so I'm kind of excited to do this a bit bigger. I'm going to ink it up with some Distress ink. This is a little darker than I would probably use, but I wanted you to be able to see the stamp and then how we add to it. So first things first, I'm just going to put it in the middle of my page, stamp that down. You might have seen on the thumbnail, but this is based off of the mermaid that I did in part 2 of the MerMay series. We have 3 mermaid videos, and then the last one I did in part 2 is the mermaid that I'm going to be demonstrating today. It's really super simple, and the point of this is more to just have fun with your art supplies and do something simple that still looks effective and you get to play with a lot of line work. So there's not a huge amount to do with it. Like I say with all these tutorials, the stamp is mostly the base to work with, so you do want to stamp it quite lightly, even though this is showing up really bold in the video, because we're going to work over the top of it and use it as our blueprint. You don't really want all these lines here, so do as I say and not as I do, I guess. From here, I'm going to add the bits that I want to add in red, and then I'm going to use all the line work in the blue. I've got this Mitsubishi two-tone pencil here. If you need a ruler for this, just grab one out, because sometimes it can be difficult to work so far away from your line. You want to go straight down the middle of your stamp. Place a point somewhere near the bottom of the page. I'm just going to run that up just really lightly, because I'm going to take the widest part of the hip, and I'm actually going to taper that line down to the point on both sides. This is going to be our mermaid tail. If you flipped it upside down, it would look like a big teardrop, like a really elongated teardrop shape upside down. Doesn't need to be perfect, just sketch it in. And then 2 leaf shapes that really do kind of bump out sideways at the bottom. I know it's maybe not everyone's favorite shape of mermaid tail, but once you've got this principle down, you don't have to draw it so straight up and down. You can get really creative with the lines. I just think it'd be way too difficult to show you all the line work and how it works if it was all skewed. So I'm just going to show you straight on and let your imagination take you from there. On the face here, we have this middle part, and I want you to take it from the side of the eye, and then using your ruler, or freehanding it if you want, I want you to bring that line almost like cutting into the side of the eye here. Just bring it all the way down to the tail. And I'm going to do it on this side as well. So this is why I like to use a ruler, because it's just a little straighter, a little neater. And the last thing we're going to do to add our, flesh out our mermaid here and give us some guidelines, we're going to take the outside of this hairline. I'm going to follow that line down. And wherever I see a bump, like the shoulder and the hips, I'm going to bump this out a little bit and really start to bring that hair out as if it's cascading down. I'm going to bump out the shoulders and at the hips, just following the curve of the shoulder and the hip. Then once I'm finished with that, I'll bring it all the way down to the tail. I'm going to do the same on this side, so bring it down from the outside hairline. I'm going to bump it out from the shoulder, and I'm going to bump it out from the hip. This is just to add more volume into the hair and have more space for line work to play with. And then once I get past the hip, I'm just going to bring it down to the tail and stop at the top. That's it for everything we're adding. The fun part now comes in all the line work. So you can do your face, you can add in your little features, you can put your lashes in, always add your lashes. But the guilty pleasure for me is all the lines that you're going to put in. So I have been doing these 2 little bobby pins just off to the side of these eyes, just angled lines, 2. One on top of the other. Now I'm going to start in the top of the hair and just bring these lines down to those bobby pins. And I'm just making a bunch of lines. This actually works really well with a mechanical pencil or a fine gel pen. Anything you can get a super fine line with, because you can get more and more lines in there. It still does work great with a pencil or a marker or anything. You could even do it with a paintbrush, to be honest. You're going to just have different effects depending on how many lines you can get in there. But it's really effective to make it seem like you did a lot of work, even though it's a very simple technique. And it does help getting your wrist used to drawing lines and just kind of loosening yourself up. So even if you don't try it with the stamp set, you might just want to try this with a regular illustration that you do and just get used to playing with all these lines like that. It's a fun style. So I'm going to take this line that came down from the eye. I'm going to start at the bobby pin and I'm just going to trace it all the way down to the tail. I'm going to do this one here as well. Doesn't have to be as straight as the line that you ruled out. In fact, it's a nice little point of difference if they're just a little wonky. I'm going to do the body now, and since I like to do them straight up and down, I don't want to be going this way. So I'm going to flip my journal to the side so I can work in a way that's more comfortable for my wrist. I'm just going to start at the waist because I think it's fun to add all these lines in, and I want to go from side to side. So I'm going to keep the bodice separate from the arms and just go from one side of the waist to the other side of the waist. But before we move up into a tricky area like this, I just wanted to show you that you don't have to keep the lines going all the same way. I mean, they should kind of just be one on top of the other, but you can flip the curve as you go down. And what happens is when your eye looks at all of this, if it can process it, because I won't lie, it's very busy to look at. You might not want to do this if you have troubles focusing or anything, but as you look at it, all the different changes in the way that the lines curve will give you an interesting kind of 3D effect. Some can be closer than others and you can really space them out, but I like to keep them really, really close and just leave a tiny gap in there. Now we haven't gotten down to where our tail separates from the hair, so we've got these blue lines to work inside at the moment, which is easy for us. When we get down to where the tail separates, you're going to want to make sure you remember that you're going from the side of the tail to the other side of the tail. So that long teardrop shape that you put in before, just follow it down that way. Then you will have some space on the sides. You're going to put your hairlines in there. I don't like to put this in blue with a harsh line because I think this technique looks most effective when it's lineless. So that means you don't put the outline on it and you just let all the lines do the talking for you. You can just taper them in when we get to the bottom. And I'm also going to do these horizontal lines for the tail as well. Anything that's body and tail, I want to do horizontal lines. Anything that's hair, I want to do vertical lines. And it's probably a little confusing because I flipped my book, but you'll see in a second. Again, do not feel the need to get this perfect or rule these lines out. If you want to, if you just want to go crazy with a ruler, then by all means do that. That's not my fantasy, but it might be for you. I do like the wonkiness of it. Now, when I get up to this area at the top, you might want to start curving these lines maybe twice to insinuate the bust line just here. It doesn't have to be anything drastic, but like I said, any curves that start to change in this patterning will give you a bit of a 3D effect, so it might be fun to put that in there. Now, completely up to you if you want to take the lines on the neck and the arms. I'm going to leave it out for this one just so we can get a really good idea of what's going on. I'm going to fill in these bits here just underneath the ears to the shoulders with my vertical lines. Now, these are all my hair lines. I like to try and make the ones under the face closer together than the ones on the outside, but you can see my pencil's already started to dull a little bit, so it's just going to be what it is. But anywhere I can see that hair, I want to start adding vertical lines, and even all the way up and down here from the ears to the tail. Just one big long line, and line after line after line. When I get to these bumped out areas, I'm just going to bump the line out as well and keep going straight down. It doesn't matter if they start to connect at some point, they probably will. But like I said, just keeping a small gap between them and let the wonkiness do whatever it needs to do. It's not much of a better effect if you have all these lines perfect. In fact, sometimes it might even look a little computer generated and it kind of defeats the purpose of having something hand-drawn if you get these lines too perfect. So just go with it. I think the fun of this really is just adding in all this line work. You might want to change the line colors up. You might want to keep it all black and white. You might want to paint some and you might want to do some with pen. I'll let you decide what works best for you, and I think you should definitely try and pick up your favorite art supplies or perhaps ones you want to learn a little bit more about to do this technique. Since it is so easy and you would probably get it first go, it's a nice one to practice with some of your art supplies. Under here as well, I've got some more hair, so I'm just going to put those lines down there too. I don't really want my lines to connect to any specific line on the tail. In fact, sometimes I like to leave a little gap between those lines. I'm more just filling the space. And that's it. That's everything to it. That's the whole technique done, dusted. We're good to go. I don't want to make it any more complicated than that. You might want to put a few flyaway strands somewhere if you really want to go that extra. Remember, if you want to turn this stamp, you can kind of get a nice little curve going on in the body. So just put the head down and then put the neck down on a slight curve. This is really good for mermaids as well. The reason I just did it so straight up and down is because it's really difficult to know where to put those lines. But once you've done it, a couple of times, or perhaps even just once, you can take this idea and do whatever you like with it. So I could even make a really, really long tail here, a nice big sweeping fin. And wherever I put these lines for the hair, in fact, I might even do like a squiggled line, even cross over the top of the tail as well. It's the same principle in the sense that anything that you see from the bodice, you know what this reminds me of? The brushstroke mermaids. It's very that. Probably the first mermaid tutorial I ever put up. But whenever you see the bodice, the fin and the top half of the body would be your horizontal lines, and then you're really going to make everything look separated when you start to put the hairlines in, which you might want to follow the curve. Sometimes you might want to bring them in together. The idea is to fill that space with lines. Lots and lots of lines. You could even change up the hairstyle at the top and give it a side sweeping bang this time. Yeah, I would just encourage you to play with it. I think it'll be super fun. I've got an example where we go from start to finish using the same idea. We're just getting really mixed media on it. I'll play that for you now. Please tag me on social media if you want me to go and check out what you come up with, or you could share it in the Facebook group as well. I'm always around, even if I'm not commenting and liking things. I'm literally watching absolutely everything. So your best way to get me is to tag me on Instagram, and I would love to see you playing with this style and just having some more carefree and easy fun with your concept stamp set. Again, please don't feel like you have to use that stamp set. You could literally use anything. You could have a drawing in your journal that's unfinished and you could do this to it. I'm not going to take offense to it. I simply make these tutorials because they work so easily with the stamp sets, but they're not essential. So have a great time with it. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.